The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is presented by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive and by the Garza Law Firm.
Georgia's back's against the wall. So does Georgia come out firing against Tennessee?
I would argue that he is the one player on the field that can most swing at games.
There's 6 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams in competition for what's basically 8 spots.
Somebody will convert a big 3rd and long and make everybody go, oh, momentum, backbreaker moment.
We're going to focus on players the Vols are battling the Bulldogs for. We've seen them have more head-to-head recruiting battles in recent years.
I think it's probably a Dylan Sampson touchdown in the 3rd quarter if we're going off that trend.
Everybody in that locker room believed in each other. And we as leaders made sure that we didn't listen to anybody outside except ourselves.
That's the kind of player that can get you a historic win on the road to Georgia.
Good Saturday morning and welcome in to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. John Pennington joined by VFL Kevin Simon, VFL Ollie Lane. We are at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. You've heard me tell you this before. I know this place well because not just because we're down here every week, but because I've bought 5 vehicles in a row here. And today I was thumbing through some of their literature, looking at some of these cars. It's not good for me to keep walking past this place because eventually I'm going to buy number 6. And that needs to be down the road, not immediately. But when I do get another car, it's going to be right here at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. I can't say enough good things about them. Their service department, the people, the prices, everything. They do a great job, and they'll match any Kia deal in America. You're going to lose money if you buy a Kia somewhere else. Come to Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. All right, we're going to get started with this Tennessee-Georgia preview. The segment is always called What's the Story? And boy, there has been one story this week, and that's Nico Iamaleava and his health. After the game, he was brought out of the Mississippi State game. They didn't put him in the second half. They said, it's a precautionary measure for an upper body injury. Then we find out it was a concussion. He's been in concussion protocol, questionable on most of the lists. This is a taped show. It's the only way you can get 14, 15, 16 people in one show on game day. So it's a taped show, but my guess is the folks watching this on Saturday aren't going to know much more than us in terms of a definitive answer. Knowing Josh Heupel, they're probably going to ride this thing right up as late as they can before making a decision or before announcing a decision. My question is, you guys, when you played, it was a little different with the concussion scenario. You had a concussion last year when you were on the team. How is that simply a matter? Is there a protocol? Is it simply a matter of the doctor checks you? How long did it take you to come back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is the concussion protocol. And I mean, for me last year, obviously concussions vary brain to brain. And, brains are different. Nothing's really similar across the board. But I mean, I came back in about 4 days, just being able to really focus on my rehab. And I think that's what the main important thing is in the concussion protocol, is just focusing on dimming away the sensitivities of light and stuff like that, kind of allowing your brain to recuperate, getting a lot of good rest, and then also just following whatever the training staff has for him, getting ready. I mean, it helped me a ton getting back, getting my eye focus back, feeling comfortable running around. And then before getting cleared, getting out, getting some pad-to-pad hits and stuff like that, feeling what it's like to get hit again. And that way, you're 100% ready to go. There's no doubts when you get in that next game. Once you clear the protocol, you feel a lot better, and you don't have to worry about maybe having another concussion because you know that the doctors took good care of you.
Well, we're going to handle this today because most people all week have kind of played this as he's going to play. So we'll handle it as though more than likely he'll get in there, but there's still a question as to whether or not he'll play. There's another thing that's not being talked about. You get one concussion, you can get a second one. Sometimes they lead one to another. If he plays today, Kevin, but has to come out. There have been people this week who saw Gaston Moore against Mississippi State, and they've said, he's just as good as Nico. He'll be fine. If you have to go with Gaston Moore down there today, I don't see that being fine.
Like Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. It's the myth of the next man up, and the myth of the next man up is that this guy's going to be just as good, and guess what? In most scenarios, they're not, because if the guy doesn't have equal talent, knowledge and expertise of the position, then listen, the ship's not going to sink, but it's going to take on a little water. Other guys are going to have to pick him up, and obviously in Dylan Sampson we trust. We're going to have to lean on that run game heavy.
Yeah,
which they've already done a ton of. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll give Gaston the benefit of the doubt. He's very experienced in Heupel's offense and knows all the keys to it. So, I mean, end of the day, he's going to be smart enough to be able to run the position if need be.
Here's what I like about Gaston playing. I feel like they've found an identity that works for this team. Short passing game, QB-friendly throws, moving the pocket. You know, we can play within the structure of what our offensive line can do, especially our tackles. Yeah. We can do our receivers creating separation. And I think that's a game that Gaston, hey, we're not asking you to win the game. We're just asking you not to lose it.
Right.
You know, but via turnover, things of that nature.
Which you did a good job of against Mississippi State. Praised him on Sunday. Hey, great job as a backup quarterback. He did what you would want him to do. But I had people telling me, well, what did he do? What did Nico do that he couldn't do? And I thought, well, 73-yard touchdown pass. Did you see that? What about the 35-yard touchdown pass?
Yeah, the squirrel way.
Yeah, I don't know that Gaston Moore is going to be able to hit those. So you kind of lose. Maybe he hits one. You did get a couple of penalties off of him trying to throw deep. Yeah. But I do think that's going to be quite a step back for those people who think, it's fine if he's in there.
For those people that say that, I think they forgot the first throw of Gaston Moore's SEC career when he threw that one down against Alabama. We don't want to see much of that.
Yeah, you said it a few weeks ago, and you touched on it there, but you said it perfectly a couple weeks ago, and that is the next man up mentality. It is not next man up reality.
No, it is not.
So
it is
there's a reason you're the bad guy. The next question, very quickly, we've got about 40 seconds here, and I'll ask you specifically. Sanford Stadium, not an easy place to play. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, between the hedges, it's insane. I mean, 22 when we went down there, you go out there for your pregame warm-ups. Most of the fans are still outside tailgating, enjoying the atmosphere. No, Georgia Stadium was packed full before we even got pads on to warm up. They're packed full, barking at us, hounding at us. I mean, these fans love some Georgia football, and I mean, they're going to let us know how much they love it on Saturday or tonight.
Good.
So
I love being down there. It's awesome.
Really, you like?
Oh
it?
Yeah.
You played in a different day and era. You guys owned them back then.
Yeah. Love it.
Good deal. Kevin Ollie, they'll be back with me in a few minutes. Right now, let's go to a scouting report on those Georgia Bulldogs with Jimmy Himes.
Thanks, John. There are three things to know about Georgia. First off, their quarterback Carson Beck is having an off year. In his last 6 games, he's thrown 12 interceptions and lost 2 fumbles. He threw 6 interceptions all of last year. Now he's throwing into coverage. He's also been pressured. He was sacked 5 times against Ole Miss. And he misses his 2 favorite targets from last year, Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers. Now against Tennessee, he's going to go against a much improved pass defense led by Jermod McCoy and a pretty good pass rush that is led by James Pierce, who's got 5.5 sacks this year. Here's the second thing about Georgia. Their defense is not as good as it's been, but they still have a pretty good run defense. They only give up 110 yards per game, and that still ranks among the best in the SEC. They're led up front by Mikael Williams, a really good defensive end, Chaz Chambliss at linebacker, Jalen Walker at linebacker, really good players. So their job, they got to stop Tennessee's run game. Tennessee leads the SEC in run offense, and Dylan Sampson leads the SEC in rushing and in touchdowns scored. Here's the other thing. Georgia got whipped by Ole Miss 28-10. It was an embarrassing defeat. Georgia's back's against the wall. So does Georgia come out firing against Tennessee, or is Georgia's self-confidence shacked? Did it rock them a little bit? I'll be curious to see. I don't know which way that's going to go, but I can tell you this. Georgia's owned Tennessee recently. They've won the last 7 games in double digits. They've also won their last 28 home games, which is the longest active streak in college football. Whether that streak continues could depend on how Beck plays, how Georgia's run defense holds up, and whether or not Tennessee's Nico Iamaleava plays. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. We have a packed show for you today to get you ready for Tennessee, Georgia tonight. Let me introduce you to a few of my friends who are going to be on the show today. These are just a few of them, and it's just some of the topics you're going to see in the next hour.
I'm Josh Ward. And I'm Tyler Ivins. And we'll battle back and forth on some Tennessee-Georgia prop bets.
I'm Ryan Callahan, and I'll tell you about the battle off the field and on the recruiting trail between Tennessee and Georgia.
I'm David Ubben, and I'll tell you what Tennessee's narrowing path to the playoff looks like.
And I'm Paige Dower, and we'll give you 3 reasons why Tennessee will win in Athens tonight.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. The Vols are off to a hot start, so we're rolling out the hottest deals of the year. You could score a 2025 Kia Sportage for $249 a month, or you could drive home a 2024 Kia Sorento for $267 a month. Are you looking to go bigger? You could ride high in style in a 2024 Kia Telluride for $379 a month. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and make your way to Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
For 4 generations, A.G. Hines Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Hines Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. Manufactured stone is lighter, more cost-effective than traditional stone, featuring greater consistency of material and quicker installation times. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Hines Company.
I was coming home and a lady hit me head on. It totaled my car, it fractured my right heel, and it bruised me up really badly. The Garza Law Firm, they were very compassionate, but yet they were very detailed. They didn't let me down. They never stopped fighting. It helped me regain confidence in law firms. I would definitely recommend the Garza Law Firm.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like G3 John boats, Gator Tough. These rugged boats are durable and dependable, season after season. Center or side console, storage boxes. Custom design your boat for your needs. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV6 and WATE.com.
The path to Atlanta for the SEC title game will be a lot more clear or muddy depending on today's results. Tennessee fans should stay tuned into Channel 6 all day today. Things kick off with Arkansas hosting Texas. Vol fans will be rooting for the Razorbacks. Then at 3:30, 2 teams are trying to rebound after big losses. LSU heads to Gainesville for a contest against Florida. And of course, it all builds up to the biggest game of the season, Tennessee taking on Georgia. Vols win. The SEC title game is within reach. And of course, when this game ends, you can stay on Channel 6 for our SEC wrap-up show, recapping the entire game, plus all things SEC. John.
Thank you, Reese. Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our show is brought to you by Freshie. It's organic tequila mixed with seltzer in a ready-to-drink can. You can get it in a 4-pack, an 8-pack, or multiple packs. If you got a party, watch party that you're hosting or heading to tonight, head to your local package store first. Pick up Freshie. We head now to the Bandit Lights Bar, where we're going to have Paige Dower, Vince Ferrara, Dave Hooker, and Bob Hodge in a segment we call The 3 Reasons.
Thanks, John. Well, the Vols have not won in Athens since 2016, but we think that might change tonight. We'll give you 3 reasons why Tennessee wins in Athens tonight. And firstly, we have to talk about Tennessee's defense. The way that they've performed all season long has kept them as one of the best defenses in the country, and for good reason. Mostly because of that run defense we've seen for most of the season, but especially the pass defense and how they're able to affect the quarterback. I mean, James Pierce Jr., for one, has 9 quarterback hurries when he's not being held or double teamed. And then Jermod McCoy, the 6 PBUs he has on the year, one of those will be an interception, I'm sure, against Carson Beck. And speaking of interceptions, Will Brooks, of all people, the walk-on, with 3 interceptions. Maybe 2 of them could have been pick sixes if he kept the right angle. But I just think the way that Tennessee's defense performs on the road or at home will be a huge, moment and pivotal key to this game.
Well, it's the cliche, defense travels. Yeah. Tennessee's defense has traveled. They've played well even when the offense hasn't played well. And not allowing an opponent to get to 20 points yet, I think that is huge, especially when you look at the matchup you've got. Now, the run defense has been shaky the last 2 weeks. But I think that is something that Tennessee could fix without a lot of problem. You're going against a team that doesn't run the ball well. And as you said, Paige, their pass defense has probably been a little bit underrated throughout the entire season when, okay, your run defense has been shaky, but your pass defense has held up for you. So I think the fact that Tennessee is taking one of the top 5 defenses in the country to Athens, that's reason number one this team can go down there and win.
Yeah, and when they play from ahead, you can see what they can do, right? They can get those turnovers. They've been doing it at a high clip here in the last 4 games. I think it's 10 in the last 4 games. So they haven't always had that luxury during that stretch where the offense was struggling. The defense had to save them and be in sudden change and things like that. But I think it's, especially with the line of scrimmage, Georgia has struggled in protecting Carson Beck. And I think that's where you can see Tennessee really boss this game early on. There's several things to really like about the Tennessee defense in this matchup.
Yeah, I really like James Pierce. I mean, who doesn't? So do the NFL scouts. But he's been a part of a sack, either a half sack or a sack, for the last 6 consecutive games. There was all this hand-wringing about where is his sack total in September. And other than guys playing the quarterback position, I would argue that he is the one player on the field that can most swing a game in either team's favor. And in this particular case, I think it would likely come via strip sack or something along those lines. So I think he's a very tough matchup playing his best football right now.
Yeah, it'll be a tough matchup against, possibly Carson Beck. And then you kind of get into this idea for maybe our second reason is this quarterback battle that we might see.
Yeah, and I like Nico Iamaleava, assuming he plays more in this quarterback battle between the two guys. Part of that's because Carson Beck has been off this year. He's got 14 interceptions. He only had 4 last year altogether. He's also had a loose handle on the football. I think that Nico is a more talented thrower, but a lot of my judgment of the two quarterbacks is the fact that Carson Beck's overwhelmed at times.
Well, earlier in the year, you said that you thought you would take Nico over Carson Beck going into the season.
At this point.
Nice little shout out.
No, earlier in the season you said. You said it months ago. Mm-hmm. And I thought you were crazy. I still think you're crazy, but it's proven to be right. Yeah. I mean, right now, going into this game, Nico's the guy. And Carson Beck could be the weak linchpin for Georgia.
You look at the last 2 games, he has 5 interceptions. Of course, 4 came against Florida, the 1 interception against Ole Miss, but he also took 5 sacks against the Rebels. So there's definitely some weakness, maybe even in the offensive line for Georgia, but there's definitely a moment for Tennessee's defense to affect Carson Beck and Nico looking even better. What I thought was interesting real quickly, Gaston Moore, his nickname, apparently after the halftime video, it's Gas Pipe. Yeah. So if he's the one that plays, I think we'll be okay with a name like that.
Better than 8 Ball, I guess.
Well, you talked about all those interceptions that Beck has thrown, and they've come in bunches at times like Oprah. You get an interception, you get an interception. And I think that offensive line, I think that's forcing Carson Beck to take some extra chances and try to play a little hero ball and be uncomfortable. So I agree. The way Nico was trending up, we'll see what he's like coming back. But the way he was trending up, and you're starting to see Tennessee's receivers get open a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And Georgia's has been inconsistent, 4th in the nation in drops at the receiver spot. I think the surrounding cast helps your argument of Nico maybe having the advantage over Carson Beck, unless he plays by far his best game.
I've had this too. Is Carson Beck a leader? And I think oftentimes you need to be at that position. And do they have leadership? They've had off the field issues, and then they had one of their players celebrating with Ole Miss's fans after that game. So
childhood friend.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know where this team's leadership is, and part of that speaks to Beck.
I think the other one, it's kind of been an underlying point in much of our conversation, are the struggles that Georgia's had on offense. So we've got a couple of points where Tennessee's better, but I think this area where Tennessee or Georgia's worse could be another reason why Tennessee wins, because while they're struggling to establish the pass game, they don't have a run game. I mean, Trevor Etienne hasn't rushed for more than 92 yards this entire season. He's kind of in your 80-yard range, and I think if they can't even get the run game going, this might not even be close.
And that brings us back to the other reason Tennessee should be able to go down there and win, and it is their run game. Mm-hmm. And Dylan Sampson and everything that Tennessee's been able to do. I was talking with John Pennington earlier this week discussing where does Dylan Sampson rank and all these great running backs that Tennessee's had in the past 30 years. Physically and speed, strength, I don't know if he's the first, second, third, or fourth guy. He may not be in that group. But what Dylan Sampson brings to the table is something that Tennessee has been able to rely on. Georgia doesn't have that in their offense, whereas Tennessee goes down there with a player and a scheme that is produced even when the rest of the offense is hurt.
Hey, Bob, I'll go even further out on a limb with Dylan Sampson. I'm not so sure. I've covered Tennessee since '98. I'm not so sure that he's not one of the top 5 players that if I had to start a team with that I would take, including some of the all-time greats. I think he's that special of a leader and a player, Vince.
Well, if he is, that's the kind of player that can get you a historic win on the road to Georgia, because it would be certainly that with so much on the line and then having lost 7 straight.
Absolutely. Well, when we come back, John, Kevin, and Ollie will turn their attention to the Georgia defense.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks, but aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home and commercial security.
Camera surveillance systems specifically designed for your property. Professional monitoring, complete with emergency and after-hours response and repair. Burglar alarms for all access points. Upgrade your home or business with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home and commercial security systems for more than 20 years.
Games and Things, East Tennessee's Man Cave headquarters, is celebrating 44 years of fun with our biggest sale of the year. Everything in our award-winning showroom is on sale at up to 50% off. Pool tables, home theater seating, bar stools, video arcade games, and more, all on sale. Don't miss Games and Things 44th anniversary with our best prices of the year. Located at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road and online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, 'cause life should be fun.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
So many people get their insurance through an app these days, but are you getting the best deal, the coverage you need? And when you really need that coverage, who's fighting for you? All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
3 recruits to watch for Tennessee football, and with Tennessee playing at Georgia tonight, this week we're going to focus on players the Vols are battling the Bulldogs for. We've seen them have more head-to-head recruiting battles in recent years, especially in the NIL era, and Tennessee has gone head-to-head with Georgia for at least a few guys this year who played out in the summer, making their decisions earlier this year, and some of them they're still battling Georgia for. So we'll start with 4-star linebacker Christian Gass, an Atlanta area player currently committed to Tennessee. He's been back to Georgia for a game already this season, and the Bulldogs are hoping to get him back on campus for today's game. We'll see if he makes it there, but it's definitely a possibility. He's not ruled out throughout the season going back to Georgia for another visit, but he's been back to Tennessee for some games this season, and there's reason to believe Tennessee can hold off the Bulldogs in the end, but with the home state school still pursuing, that one's not over. 4-star safety Lagonza Hayward, another Tennessee commitment, top 100 player nationally out of South Georgia, an area Georgia usually recruits really well. Tennessee's had him since the summer. Georgia got him back on campus for a game earlier this week. He says he's not going to Georgia this weekend, has a formal this weekend, so not going to be at that game, but Georgia's been trying to get him back on campus. We'll see if anything else happens there. I think Tennessee's got a good chance of holding on to him, but Georgia hasn't given up. And in the 2026 class, 5-star linebacker Tyler Atkinson, big-time player out of the Atlanta area. He's actually originally from Knoxville, was born here, lived here for just a few years when he was young, but a guy that Tennessee and Georgia both are heavily involved with and have hosted on multiple visits, so someone to watch for sure over the next year that Tennessee and Georgia are battling for. John, back to you.
Thank you, Ryan. Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff here at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Usually this segment is called Checking the List, but we're doing 2 What's the Game Plan segments today. So this is What's the Game Plan Part A, and I want to ask, we're going to start looking at Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense. Obviously the Nico thing's a question mark, but let's look at that Georgia defense. Kevin, as a former NFL talent scout, you've seen a lot of those Georgia defenders go to the NFL the last couple of years. It seems to have left, at least for this year, maybe some guys are going to grow into it, but it seems to have left them with a little bit less of a talent gap than they have over teams in the past few years. Would you agree with that they're not quite at the same level they've been the last few years?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question of that. When you watch them on film, they're a little young in the secondary. They got some guys back on the defensive line, but they don't have the droves of players, the depth that they've had with the Jalen Carters and the Jordan Davises of the world,
game wreckers.
Yeah, and then coming off the edge, like the Nolan Smiths and guys, they're not as good coming off the edge. I see their linebackers; they don't erase as many things. That's why we've seen some more runs pop on them. Now they're still really good, but
still good.
But just not quite to the level. I think Tennessee has bridged the gap, definitely to a certain extent.
Your thoughts on you've gone against Georgia the last few years. How did Heupel attack them?
Yeah.
What was the thoughts inside the program of that Kirby Smart defense? Was it just, they're loaded with talent, or was there part of it tying back to the scheme? Just take us inside the meeting rooms a little bit in terms of how Tennessee's attacked them in the past and what they may do today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every time you play against a Kirby Smart defense, the main things to highlight is, one, they are exceptionally talented. They're extremely aggressive, and they're also well-disciplined. They are well-coached. They know what gaps to hold, where to play at, and how to not put themselves out of position. Heupel has, in the past, when I've been there, just put a lot of focus on our run game, especially our counter plays, because they want to stay in that 3-down front. And so it's easy to kick out the D-end and create space on that inside. But they have a good Chaz Chambliss over there on the edge is a good thumper. He's not going to allow you to get a good kick out at, and most of the time might even be a log, which causes
really
you
hits
to
it
bounce
deep,
it.
right?
Yeah.
When you guys are coming around, he's trying to hit as deep as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a very good defense. Some of the things to highlight about the defense is they play a lot off of their linebackers. The D-line's more of a true gap to fit. They're going to hold and read their gaps and allow the linebackers to create plays and make the plays for them. And this is what you highlighted earlier, what you've seen the last few years. Georgia's put so much of an emphasis on how great their linebackers are, and every year they put out great linebackers. This year, it's not. They're still great, talented linebackers, but they're not doing as much as they have in the past. You can see that's hurting them some. So, I mean, it's going to be a point of emphasis for us as well as this offense is rolling into this. But, Georgia as a whole, they do so many different exotic blitzes and stuff like that. One of their main blitzes is they'll bring 2 on the edge, drop them, bring the other 2 off that you're not reading. And as an offensive line, if you're not truly reading it, you're not getting to those guys on the edge, and that's an easy sack given up because your running back can only pick up 1. So, I mean, they're going to bring stuff that's going to confuse you. And as an offense, as Heupel coaches these guys up this week, it's important to just remember to keep your eyes in the right spot, know where you're reading, and focus on your keys for everything.
To piggyback off that, kind of across the board, they're not tackling as well as what they once did. Once upon a time, boom, down. There was very minimal guys missing tackles, and they're getting population in football. Guys are still, but they're taking, the angles aren't quite right. I just think that's the youth they have at linebacker in the secondary. And then the other thing, I've seen some busts. Like there was one time where with Jackson Dart, they were swarming the castle, but the edge guy came inside when he wasn't supposed to. Jackson Dart got out around the end. There was time where they're running cut. We play cut in the Pruitt system. Well, cut, you're supposed to play inside out, man under technique. Do not get beat inside. Guys are getting beat inside. So there's been a little bit more of that this season. They're still very good, but there is a difference from where they've been at for, it feels like a mighty long time, the last 6-7 years.
Well, I mean, they've been national championship level defense. Ollie, very quickly, 30, 45 seconds. Is there anybody on this team that you have any personal experiences with that tell folks at home about these players? Is there anything they need to know?
Yeah, I mean, just at the end of the day, these players are ridiculously talented, and it's super aggressive. You know, especially I can't name names off the top of my head.
Well,
but
we were talking before this. There was somebody that gave you a shot to the chest.
Yeah, back in 21, playing against Georgia, Jordan Davis, who now plays for the Eagles. I mean,
Davis, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a mean long arm. Dude shot me back about 5 yards off the first play of the game. And I'm like, oh, yeah, here's Georgia.
Good deal. Thanks, guys. When we come back, we're going to preview tonight's game with some over-under questions. We got a head-to-head matchup with the Wise guys. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like Hurricane deck boats. Perfecting fun on the water for more than 45 years with innovative and incredibly versatile designs. Experience freedom, laughter, and adventure on the water with Hurricane. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
I see Marco's role in the community as somebody that people can look up to.
Marcos Garza is very thoughtful. He pays attention to the needs of the people in the community.
He's somebody that's very unselfish, somebody that's going to always be there.
Marcos Garza will work as hard as he can to get the best results for you.
In the future, no matter where I'm playing, no matter what the team I'm playing for, I'll always be on Garza's team.
The Garza Law Firm is Mama Zizi approved.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. The Vols are off to a hot start, so we're rolling out the hottest deals of the year. You could score a 2025 Kia Sportage for $249 a month, or you could drive home a 2024 Kia Sorento for $267 a month. Are you looking to go bigger? You could ride high in style in a 2024 Kia Telluride for $379 a month. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and make your way to Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
You can have qualms with the committee moving BYU and Indiana ahead of Tennessee and seemingly doing it at random, and they'd be good arguments, but the more important issue for Tennessee right now is what happens on the field. Their path is mostly clear amid a logjam. If Tennessee wins out, they're in the field, period. No questions there. They might get to host a game as well. Maybe they win the SEC and get a bye. If they lose against Georgia, it's going to be really, really close. There's 6 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams in competition for what's basically 8 spots when you add in the conference champions plus the ACC and Big 12 champions plus the group of 5 bid and Notre Dame if they keep winning. So there's no guarantee it goes either way for Tennessee. What would help them is if some of those teams in contention would start losing. You want Alabama to keep winning because the Vols will probably go in the field ahead of them, and every win that they have improves the quality of Tennessee's win. But Indiana beating Ohio State wouldn't hurt, or Penn State losing a game down the stretch wouldn't hurt either. And the SEC, A&M losing, Ole Miss losing would help thin the herd a little bit of teams that could conceivably go in the field ahead of Tennessee with better or close to better resumes. But that's where Tennessee is. Win and you're in. Lose on Saturday and all bets are off, but the Vols getting in looks close to a coin flip.
Thank you, David. Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. They are having their 44th anniversary sale right now. And man, what a sale it is. Everything in the store is on sale. And some of that stuff is up to 50% off. That's everything from dartboards to poker tables, jukeboxes to shuffleboard tables. You can see some of that. In fact, you can see all of that, and they've got much more. Games and Things, but you can see it right now in the Games and Things arena. That's where Josh Ward and Tyler Ivins are waiting for a segment we call The Wise Guys.
Thanks, Sean. Tennessee's going to go one-on-one with Georgia in Athens tonight. So Tyler Ivins and I are going to go one-on-one this segment. Tyler, you ready?
Let's do it, brother.
All right, I'll get us started here. In SEC play, Carson Beck has thrown 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Will Carson Beck throw more touchdowns or more interceptions tonight?
I'm not breaking any news here. It's no real secret the offensive line has struggled this year due to injuries in Athens. Earlier this week, Kirby referred to shuffling the deck as being tough for him on campus. I'm going to go with the trend here. I think Carson Beck and the running game being inefficient is going to force himself into plays that he should not make. 12 interceptions over his last 6 games. It's not good right now for Carson Beck. Number 1 overall pick? No. Heisman favorite? No. I think Tennessee, they get more turnovers on Carson Beck than he finds the end zone. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I can at least get out of here with a push. So I'll say the interception side. I will take that one because the pressure's still going to come from Tennessee's defense. And if Georgia is able to get into the red zone, it's going to at some point. They'll probably try to put it in the end zone on the ground. So I will take more interceptions than touchdown passes for Carson Beck.
I see your Carson Beck, and I raise you that Tennessee allows just 24% of third down conversions. Georgia converts 48% of those third down conversions at home. So, Josh Ward, will Georgia convert 39.5% of its third downs tonight? We're looking over under that 40 mark right now.
It's easy still if you're a Tennessee fan. You've watched the defense play as well as it has this season to worry in those situations on the road. On the road, that's a different beast for Tennessee's defense. Let's see if Georgia is able to get some things going on the ground. I will say no. They do not convert 39.5% or better. I will take under that. They'll have more success than I think a typical offense does against Tennessee, but not typical Georgia success.
When I started reading this question, the number 34 popped up in my mind for whatever reason. I just grabbed it out of the air. I'm going to lean with you as well, too, and say no, but I believe it will be a crucial third down. If you're looking for a momentum swing point in this game, maybe Tennessee has Georgia pushed back, or maybe Georgia has Tennessee. Somebody will convert a big third and long and make everybody go, oh, momentum, backbreaker moment. So, I'll also go under on this, but it's close, and that's a good number.
Beck's he's not a big runner, but he's also not a complete statue. Watch for him if there are situations where he can sneak through up the middle to try to pick up a first down. Tyler, in SEC play, UT has had 27 red zone attempts, but they've only scored 12 touchdowns on those trips. Over under 2.5 UT red zone touchdowns tonight.
Question is, can they get to the 10? It's been a popular stat the last 7 to 10 days. I know the red zone's 20 yards, but when the Vols get to the 10-yard line they're as good as a direct deposit. I'm going to lean no on this one. I think the hook's key on that one. I think Tennessee gets in the red zone twice. You'll hear my score prediction coming up later and how unique it is because of Max Gilbert field goals. Because Max Gilbert's back now after his performance last week against Mississippi State. But no, I'm going to take another under on this one, and I think that hook is what's going to play the difference in the red zone.
Yeah, there's a chance to hit a big play. We saw Jalen Wright do that on the ground last year to start things out. We'll see with health, but at wide receiver they can still hit some plays over the top. 3 touchdowns at least in the red zone for Tennessee's offense. On the road against Georgia, I'll take the under.
Josh Ward, speaking of third quarters, UT ranks 3rd in the nation, averaging just over 10 points in the third quarters. So over under tonight, Josh, do the Vols put up 10 third quarter points? We'll set it at 9.5. Adjustments coming out of the locker room.
So I do think that they score in the third quarter, and I think it's probably a Dylan Sampson touchdown in the third quarter if we're going off that trend. So can they get one more score that quarter? I'll take the under. Might start to tease what my prediction will be, but I'll take the under. I'll say Tennessee scores 7 points on a Dylan Sampson third quarter touchdown.
Finally, we find one we're going to differ on. I'll take the over on this one.
Okay, good.
If I'm going to keep riding trends like Carson Beck turning the football over, Tennessee being able to get off the field on third downs with a little hint of difficulty, I'll grab this trend as well. I think the Vols find a way in the third quarter to continue to kind of knock the door off the hinges, and I think it's going to set up for what's going to be an exciting fourth quarter who wins the last 15 minutes.
Tennessee fans are pulling for you on that one. About 90 seconds with 2 questions to go, right. Tyler. Georgia ranks 15th in the SEC in rushing, 15th in the SEC, but UT allowed 168 and 179 rush yards the last 2 weeks. Over under 159.5 rush yards for Georgia tonight.
Every single time I hear the name ETN, I just think about that blown tackle when he played for Florida last year and him bouncing off players. I think Tennessee struggles again stopping the run today. This would be the game that would have Vols fans going, we'll be able to slow down the 15th ranked rushing offense in the conference, and they end up struggling. No, I think Georgia finds a way to win on the ground. Their attempt to win this game on the ground, and I think they pull it off with just that, Trevor Etienne.
Tennessee's defense knows it's had issues there on the ground. They're still going to come after Carson Beck. I think Georgia will find some ground success, but they have not been good, and that offensive line is still a question. So I will take the under on that number for Georgia. Last question there, Tyler.
The last 3 years, GT has jumped from 55 rush yards versus Georgia to 94, and then 130. Over under 165.5 rushing yards against Georgia tonight.
Well, if I could guarantee a Dylan Sampson big play run like we saw from Jalen Wright, which I mentioned to start the game out last year, then I would take the over. I can't say that confidently on the road in Athens. I'll take the under. Georgia's defense knows it has to step up against Dylan Sampson as well.
Speak on both halves, and that is whether or not Nico does or does not play later this evening. He's going to play, but you're going to be riding Dylan Sampson a whole lot.
Yeah, and how confident is Nico on the ground to move around after the hits last week? So, all right.
That's a high number. We disagreed on the right things, but that's a high number.
Both defenses will try to step up. When we come back, Tennessee's defense versus Georgia's offense. Speaking of Kevin, John, and Ollie, we'll talk about that next.
Games and Things, East Tennessee's Man Cave headquarters, is celebrating 44 years of fun with our biggest sale of the year. Everything in our award-winning showroom is on sale at up to 50% off. Pool tables, home theater seating, bar stools, video arcade games, and more, all on sale. Don't miss Games and Things' 44th anniversary with our best prices of the year. Located at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road, and online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, cause life should be fun.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home automation.
Our expert technicians can turn your home into a smart home, allowing you to control and monitor everything from lighting and climate to entertainment systems, security systems, and even appliances, all from your phone or tablet. Upgrade your home with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home automation for more than 20 years.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
From works of art to family photos, enhance the beauty and protect your memories with custom frames, museum-quality glass, and guaranteed craftsmanship. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks, but aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
All right, it's Captain's Corner. This one's a huge game, no doubt about it. I think back when I was a captain my senior year in 1992, very similar scenarios how you approach this. We went to Georgia with an interim head coach in Phil Fulmer. We had an unknown quarterback and a guy by the name of Heath Schuler, and nobody gave us a chance. Georgia was a top 5 team. And you know what? Everybody in that locker room believed in each other. And we as leaders made sure that we didn't listen to anybody outside except ourselves. And the most important game maxim you will ever find is if the game of breaks go against you, don't let up, put on more steam. We had a situation where we had to convert a 4th and 12. We had multiple turnovers. We had fumbles that we recovered on punts. We had an interception that we stripped the ball by Corey Fleming. We got the ball back and had a whole new set of downs. Those are the things that you have to do as a captain. You have to lead inside that locker room to say, I don't care what anybody else says, it's us against them. Nobody believes, but we believe in ourselves. This is a special moment for you as a captain and as you as a team to take control and set your future for all the great things that lie ahead of you.
Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. We're at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. This segment of our program brought to you by the folks at the Garza Law Firm. Marcos Garza and his team right here in East Tennessee have been for years. Why do I mention that? Why does that matter? Well, if you want an attorney, then you want a local attorney who knows the local judges, who knows the other local attorneys, knows the local system. Also, there are a lot of people that do advertising, attorneys that want you to think they're in Knoxville. You hire them, and then you find out that they've just got somebody that works here in a satellite office. They're actually in Birmingham or Memphis. Marcos Garza, the Garza Law Firm, right here in East Tennessee. Call them. All right, this segment, it's our second What's the Game Plan segment. It's What's the Game Plan B, we'll call it. We're going to flip it. We're going to talk about Georgia's offense against Tennessee's defense. I want to start with the run game. Georgia is 15th in the SEC in rushing offense. I can't remember the last time Georgia was that low in the run game. Tennessee's run defense, however, struggled the last couple of weeks. You've started giving up some yards to Kentucky and Mississippi State, so you wonder, is Georgia going to be able to run the ball? Travis Etienne, their running back's been banged up, is questionable on the injury reports earlier this week. Thoughts on Georgia's rushing attack against Tennessee's run defense, Kevin Simon?
So with Etienne, he's averaging 5 yards a carry. And then the freshman kid from Compton, California, he's averaging 4.6, Nate Frazier. So between those two guys, those are pretty good numbers.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you can hang your hat on. But Mike Bobo has not stuck with the run. I'm just going to be totally honest, not real impressed. I've never been real impressed with Mike Bobo. My house, this guy keeps getting jobs. But he does. But he does. And then, so I just think they just need to stick with it, right? Instead of kind of pulling off it.
Well, and when you look at what's happened with Tennessee, is it more likely they'll stick with it tonight after what Kentucky and Mississippi State were able to run for 169, 178 yards on UT?
Possibly, but it's Mike Bobo we're talking about. So,
so there's no guarantee of that.
There's no guarantee, but I think, so like, you got two sophomores in Aaron Carter and T. Lander in at linebacker. And listen, whether it's missing a pull, not fitting where you're supposed to, there's times where their footwork is sloppy and they get into the line to where guys like him can come collect you before the running back picks his slide and hits the hole. So I just think just sometimes early in the game, just settling down and playing in the moment, especially for Aaron Carter. He's usually amped up early in the game. He plays his best to me, second, third, fourth series, and then on.
It's where you're missing Keenan Peely.
Oh no, there's no question. Yeah. Again, the next man up, better is better. So, it's a myth.
When we look at their quarterback situation, Carson Beck has not had a great year this year. His interceptions are up, his touchdowns are down. He's been under duress for much of the year. Do you expect to see a better performance from Carson Beck tonight? I mean, you get Tennessee's pass rush. They don't get a ton of sacks, but they're all over your quarterback. They get a lot of hurries. Do you expect to see him at his best? Because Georgia's backs are against the wall, man. They're playoff hopes right on tonight's game. Or do you expect just, hey, look, it's kind of like Tennessee. We've talked about their inconsistent offense. It is what it is by the time you get to game 10. Do you expect Beck's best, or do you expect him to struggle again tonight against Tennessee's defense?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think he's going to rise to the occasion and put out a performance that's going to be exemplary of him trying to put out his best performance. However, he's been under duress the last better part of this season. He's had a lot of interceptions issues. He's missing key guys like Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers to help electrify this offense. And so it's with the pressure that our defense creates, I don't see how this isn't going to play like it has all season for Carson Beck. He's going to be running around for his life, trying to find open receivers and hopefully throwing it to our quarterbacks instead.
Is this a little bit like what Tennessee's gone through? We've said all year, you've said all year, you need the receivers to step up and make some plays for your quarterback. It's not just on the quarterback. Same thing at Georgia?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it, because when you look at guys like Bell and Levitt and Aaron Smith, who are the core top three receivers, the departures of Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, 2 first-round picks, they're missing those guys. Those guys were too QB friendly. They were chain movers on first down, and they created the explosive plays. The explosive plays have not been there in this offense with Carson Beck. And whether it's Oscar Delp's been out of the lineup at times, Lawson Lucky, a sophomore, has been playing for him, passes off his hands against Texas, interception. So bad stuff like that. That's not all on Carson Beck. And if you look at his numbers, they kind of tell the story. 24 touchdowns a year ago, 6 interceptions, 9.5 per completion. This year it's 7.8. That's a big difference. I think that tells a story about why they've struggled offensively.
I think there are big comparisons to me, babe, between Tennessee's offense and Georgia's offense. The difference being you have said, all right, we're going to rely on the run at Tennessee, whereas Georgia, they haven't done that yet. So, and one thing to remember, I'll quickly get this in there. For as much as we talk about, well, they've thrown interceptions, they turned the ball over, Beck hasn't been as good, they haven't run the ball that well, et cetera, et cetera. Before the Ole Miss game, they had put at least 30 points on the board against 5 straight SEC foes. So the offense isn't as bad as perhaps the statistics seem to suggest. Numbers can lie, I guess. When we come back, how would you like our predictions? Game predictions, Tennessee, Georgia. We got 14 of them coming next. Come on back.
For 4 generations, A.G. Hines Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Hines Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. With Nudura insulated concrete forms, your project will be both rock solid and more energy efficient than steel or wood structures. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Hines Company.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats like Skeeter bass boats. For more than 75 years, generations of anglers have trusted Skeeter, the best engineered boats on the water. Ensure a smooth, dry, safe trip to your favorite fishing hole. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. The Vols are off to a hot start, so we're rolling out the hottest deals of the year. You could score a 2025 Kia Sportage for $249 a month, or you could drive home a 2024 Kia Sorento for $267 a month. Are you looking to go bigger? You could ride high in style in a 2024 Kia Telluride for $379 a month. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and make your way to Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV6 and WATE.com.
Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. We're at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. This predictions segment of our show, always brought to you by Chris Smith Insurance. And folks, you don't have to wait for your car insurance or your home insurance to lapse. You call Chris Smith today. Compare what he can do for you. If he can save you money, you just change policies right now. That other company, they write you a refund. That's how that works. You don't have to wait. Chris Smith Insurance, see if he can save you money. Give him a call this week. That's my insurance guy. Hey, let's go to the predictions. We got 14 of them. We call it who, how, and why.
I'm going to go with Georgia 24-13 over Tennessee. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. You know, the uncertainty with Nico Iamaleava is obviously a concern going into this game, but I think regardless of whether he plays, this looks like a game where Georgia, with its back to the wall and needing to win to make the college football playoff, will play a much better game than a week ago. And I think playing on the road has been a problem for Tennessee under Josh Heupel, so I'm taking the Bulldogs.
All right, score prediction for Tennessee and Georgia. Man, this is going to be tough, but I believe in Tennessee. That's what I'm going to say. I do think Georgia scores over 20 points, but I do think Tennessee, if Nico plays, Tennessee 28, Georgia 27.
All right, Tyler, prediction time. I've stolen your score, or come close to it too many times this season. I'm going to let you go first. What happens tonight, Tennessee and Georgia?
I think Tennessee is in a bad spot, especially with the question marks around Nico Iamaleava. I think the 30 carries last week were just too much for Dylan Sampson. He has a strong game. Defense does all they can to keep the balls in it. Georgia milks the clock late. They hold on to the ball. They hold on to the win. I'll take the Dogs 24-17 over Tennessee.
Last time Tennessee won there, it could have gone either way. Tennessee won on a Hail Mary. I think this is a game that could go either way. We haven't said that enough times. 2 years ago, Tennessee thought they had a shot going in. We found out quickly it wasn't going to go that way. I do think Tennessee has a good chance because of the defense. This defense is elite. It's real. I think the defense up front will give them a shot, but I think Tennessee will come up short. Georgia has all the motivation. Not that Tennessee lacks it, but Georgia in this spot knows it has to win. It will be pounded into the heads. all week long from Kirby Smart. I think Georgia will win tonight 21-17 against Tennessee.
I'm taking Georgia here. They're tough at home, have the bodies to limit this offense up front and in the secondary, man for man. And there's a reason why the Vols have only scored 23 points total against this team in their last 2 meetings. Josh Heupel's never scored more than 17 against Georgia, and he won on Saturday regardless of whether or not Nico Iamaleava plays. Give me Georgia 20, Vols 17.
Georgia is favored in this one for a reason. For the first time this season, I'm picking the opposing team. The Bulldogs win 27-24. If the Vols do want to win, they're going to have to take advantage of Carson Beck being turnover prone.
Will Georgia add to its home winning streak? If it does, it'll probably be because of the defense. Even if Nico Iamaleava plays for Tennessee, I can't imagine it being 100%. I look for a low-scoring game, Georgia 20-17.
I'll take Tennessee in this game. It might be a shock, but heading into this game, I mean, Tennessee has looked like the superior team. The final, I think, will be 27-17. Georgia's had losses of 7 and 18 points, so it wouldn't be a surprise to me if they lose by a few more than that in this game. I just think Tennessee's defense will be the difference maker.
I have been all over the board with this game this week. I thought Tennessee had a good chance in the middle of the week. I thought Tennessee had no chance after looking at some things. I'm going to settle on Tennessee wins 17-16.
I agree with you in the style of game. I think it's going to be ugly, kind of grinded out.
Yes.
And I also have kind of waffled and gone back and forth with this one too. It's easy to take yourself one direction or the other. Defense and then a game-winning field goal. I'm going to go Tennessee 23-20.
I think Georgia breaks through, and they're the first team to score 20 points against the Vols this year. However, I'm taking Tennessee 23-20. I think Tennessee's a little bit better in a couple of different regards. And again, I'm not so sure that Georgia knows where their leadership lies.
All right, you just heard everybody else's picks, guys. I'll give you mine, and then we'll get yours. Look, if I knew that Nico was going to play and be 100%, I think I'd take Tennessee. If Georgia had rolled into Ole Miss and won down there and come back cocky, I would have taken Tennessee. Those things didn't happen. I don't know about Nico, so I'm going to take Georgia in this one. I think it's going to be close. I'll take Georgia 26-20. Could come down to the last possession, and Tennessee has a shot to do it. But I'm going to go Georgia, and the main reason is this. They haven't lost at home since 2019. That counts for something. So I'm going Georgia close. That means it's now 7 for Georgia, 5 for Tennessee in our pick segment. Ollie, what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to help that out a little bit. I'm going 24-17 Tennessee. Like you said, I think it's going to be come down to the last possession. I think our defense is going to be strong enough to carry the advantage. But, also, I know Georgia's fired up after that loss to Ole Miss and their desperation. But, I mean, if I'm a Tennessee player, I'm fired up too. Every single sports writer this week has already wrote it off that Georgia's beating you to get to their path to the playoffs. Well, I'm looking at that, and I'm taking this one serious, and I'm saying, no, I'm making sure they do not get in the playoffs.
I've not seen that, but it's funny how you players tend to find the ones that say that. Tend to find that's good stuff. All right, what are you doing, Kevin? You can either make it 7-7 or 8-6 Georgia. What are you doing?
My beloved Tennessee. Hey, go Vols, baby. Hey, 31-28. Don't be surprised if this one goes to OT.
31.
I just think, hey, somehow, some way, we find a way to get this thing done and go win in between the hedges.
That's impressive, guys. It's a major game. I mean, massive game when you consider the playoff implications for both teams here. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you being here every single week. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week for UTEP. We will see you tomorrow, 11 a.m., right back here on Channel 6. And we'll be breaking down this massive game for 90 minutes on the Sports Source. We thank you for joining us there every week. And, of course, we also thank Rusty Wallace Kia of Callahan Drive and all of our sponsors for this show. Good luck to the Vols tonight. Have a good time, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Sports Source.